Coming up on Global Business, positive aspects. China's foreign trade declined in the month of July, but imports and exports edged up during the first 7 months of the year. Warning signs. Global ratings agency Moody's cut the credit ratings of several small to middle-sized U.S. banks on Monday, citing funding risks and lower profits. And sports legacy. As the curtain drew to a close on the 31st World University Games in Chengdu, we uncover the enduring legacy. From Citizen headquarters in Beijing, this is Global Business. I'm Zhen Junfeng. We start our program with a look at some of the relief measures taken in response to the floods that affected northern China. Premier Li Qiang has emphasized the necessity for swifter and more extensive assistance in the flood-stricken areas. During today's executive meeting of the State Council, Premier Li urged banks and insurers to promptly offer financial relief to individuals and extend credit lines to businesses. Nationally, Ministries of Finance and Agriculture released an emergency fund totaling 732 million yuan on Tuesday to aid in the recovery efforts. Now on China's foreign trade data, according to China's Customs Authority, imports and exports posted a modest growth of 0.4% on a yearly basis during the first 7 months of the year to 23 trillion yuan. Exports witnessed a growth of 1.5%, while imports saw a slight decline of 1% during the first 7 months. Noteworthy also is the rising prominence of general trade, which accounted for 65.4% of China's total foreign trade. Particularly striking was the trade activities of private enterprises, which grew 6.7% year-on-year to 12 trillion yuan. China's top political advisor has introduced a set of directives aimed at ensuring the stability of foreign trade in the upcoming month. The recent session of China's Political Bureau emphasized the necessity of implementing a range of strategies. These include expanding international flight options, ensuring the smooth operation of China-Europe freight trains, and harmonizing freight trade zones and ports with globally recognized economic and trade regulations. The State Council has also issued guidelines and proposed the advancement of pilot freight trade zones in major cities like Beijing and Shanghai. These free trade zones are intended to align with international standards and counterparts. China's processing trade landscape has undergone a notable transformation, transiting from labor-intensive goods to advanced high-tech manufacturing. To further catalyze processing trade, customs authorities have been enhancing clearance services. Our Zhang Shixuan has more.
For the past almost 4 years, this ship has grown from an agreement to a 135,500 metric ton Vista-class vessel that can carry thousands of people. This is China's first domestically built large cruise ship, which completed its first sea trial just last month. It's a giant, and it contains as many as 25 million components and parts, 5 times that of a C919 aircraft, and much of it is imported. Once the sea trials are done, the ship will be delivered at the end of the year. The project's extensive demand for imported components and its ultimate export destination make it a perfect example of the processing trade.
The
whole ship required 3,000 purchase orders for equipment that needed to be imported, and that's just the figure for the shipowner supplies. There were also a large number of orders booked by the shipbuilder. When importing some parts, the customs offered us bonded services, and for others, we will receive tax refunds on some categories after the ship is formally delivered and exported.
The processing trade involves a domestic firm initially obtaining raw materials or intermediate inputs from abroad, and after local processing, exporting the value-added end goods. Customs duties on the imported materials are exempted if the company can prove that the imports are consumed in the production of goods for export. But for such a large high-end manufacturing product, the Shanghai Customs had to create some special services.
For key equipment like large marine generator sets, azopod propulsion, scrubbers and water generators, Customs supervised very closely. but for the large number of other imported materials, the customs allowed us to vouch for ourselves based on our construction progress.
China's processing trade volume has risen more than 500 times during the past 40 years. While it once took up half of the country's total foreign trade volume, that proportion has dropped to around 20% now, as more general trade has grown significantly. But it doesn't mean that the processing trade is any less important now. On the contrary, it still plays a vital role in industrial upgrades, in stabilizing industrial chains, and now serves a wider range of industries.
In Shanghai, the processing trade products have relatively longer industrial chains, with high value-added and high-tech products taking the prime spot, accounting for around 70% of the overall processing trade volume. The value rate of the processing trade has now reached 78%.
It's not just growing, it's changing. The processing trade has now pretty much shifted from labor-intensive products with low added value to high value-added and high-tech manufacturing. In the first half of the year, Shanghai processing trade volume outside the Customs Special Supervision Zone topped more than 190 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of more than 6%. Customs has been improving clearance services for the imports. Originally, it tracked imports based on individual agreements, with each agreement corresponding to a single customs category. Now the services are capable of tracking an entire company and even a group's trading activity as a whole.
For example, the China State Shipbuilding Corporation has many shipyards. We offer a one-stop supervision, taking the group as a unit, so that the different companies owned by the group can distribute their materials as they need. Not just leading companies like Jiangnan and Waigaoqiao, we have included all the group's shipyards in the Yangtze River Delta region to offer an industrial cluster supervision.
Yu says she expects future quality upgrades of the processing trade to include cruise ship and large aircraft manufacturing, advanced packaging and testing of integrated circuits, as well as AI and medical equipment. Zhang Shixuan, ICS for CGTN, Shanghai.
In the month of July, passenger car sales declined in China, but new energy vehicles continue to maintain strong growth. Last month, China recorded sales of nearly 1.8 million passenger cars, showing a 2% year-on-year decline. However, these figures are compared to exceptionally high previous records, making it still the second-best July performance. Accumulated passenger car sales from January to July experienced an almost 2% increase year-on-year. New energy sales continue to drive growth in July, with their monthly sales marking a remarkable nearly 32% surge compared to last year. Profitability of China's major new energy vehicle brands continue to improve steadily this year. Li Auto just released its second quarter report earlier today. It showed that the company's net income growth has largely accelerated in the past 3 months. BYD's net profit during the first half surged nearly 200% to 12 billion yuan, or about $1.6 billion on a yearly basis. CATL, a leading new battery technology company, doubled its net profit during the same period. At the same time, NIO, another Chinese electric vehicle maker, also managed to have positive revenue growth in Q1, despite sluggish sales at the beginning of this year. You're watching Global Business. Come up next. Rating agency Moody's cut the credit ratings of several small and medium-sized U.S. banks on Monday, citing funding risks and lower profits.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global Business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business, only on CGTN.
Global ratings agency Moody's has lowered the credit ratings of 10 small U.S. banks and warned of potential downgrades for Wall Street giants. The ratings agency attributes the action to strained liquidity and increased funding costs among U.S. banks, driven by a historically high interest rate environment following 11 Fed rate hikes since March 2022. Moody's expressed specific apprehension about growing risks associated with commercial real estate loans, attributing to its forecast of a mid-U.S. recession in early 2024. In response to the credit agency's adjustments, financial stocks opened lower on Tuesday on Wall Street. Let's move on to some U.S. other business headlines that we are tracking at this hour. A new survey released by the European Central Bank on Tuesday shows that consumers in the Eurozone anticipate a further deceleration in inflation. The survey found that the median respondents' projection for inflation over the next 12 months is 3.4%, marking a decline from the 3.9% figure from the previous month. Australian consumer sentiment registered a 0.1% decline in August to 81, and is attributed to the central bank's decision to keep interest rate unchanged for the second consecutive month, which failed to ease concerns about economic outlook. And Japan's real wages decreased for the 15th consecutive month in June. This highlights the need for companies to boost wages and prompts the central bank to consider a potential exit strategy from accommodating monetary policies. Moving on to U.S., where some states have opted to raise minimum wages, a move welcomed by low-income workers, but one that will put additional pressure on small business owners already struggling with meager profits. Our Edis Tiansen explains.
Rent, groceries, gas, entertainment, and the cost of living has gone up in much of the United States, especially in cities like West Hollywood, a trendy part of Los Angeles where some residents struggle to keep up with living expenses. But a recent increase in wages has many low-income workers applauding the change.
That's awesome, absolutely. I mean, inflation's gone up so ridiculously high. I mean, we live in West Hollywood. We live in this bubble where you try to make chicken soup and you end up spending $100. So it's definitely well deserved and they should even be more than that, to be honest with you. We got to keep up with living expensive here.
As of July, the city of 35,000 officially has the nation's highest minimum wage at $19.08 an hour, surpassing major U.S. cities like Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, San Jose, and Washington, D.C.
I mean, if you're in the service industry, which is what I'm guessing is going to be affected the most by this, by a higher minimum wage, or if you're cleaning the hotel rooms, if you're working at the convenience stores, if you're working at the coffee shops, how are these people supposed to be able to keep up with the cost of living here?
But the record high minimum wage is putting pressure on small businesses whose profit margins are already stretched thin.
Profit margins in food business is pretty low. And we're talking about high rent in Los Angeles, West Hollywood especially. We're talking about food costs, which have been increasing for the last few years. We're talking about employee costs. These are your main costs, and I would say they're pretty high. Yeah.
Not all businesses have adopted the new measure. Some vowed to fight the city against its decision. At Junior Cookies, Sevish empathized with the move and raised his workers' wages, but says he's had to make some arrangements to cope with the costs.
I totally get this increase in minimum wage. It's very hard to live in LA and in all other major cities. It's hard to pay your rent while everything is going up like this. However, on a business side, it is also a little challenging too. To cope with this, we had to increase some menu item prices, and also we had to cut down on some shifts, unfortunately, to be able to respond to this increase.
Many see this as a progressive move that aims for a living wage for all. And for small businesses, city officials say it will help in other ways. And for now, beefing up security is one of them due to an increase in crime on the streets. It is Tian Shan, CGTN, West Hollywood.
Watching Global Business, come up next. As the curtains drew to a close on the 31st World University Games in Chengdu, we uncover the enduring legacy.
We are all connected. Across borders, across continents, connected by ideas, a shared humanity. Stay connected.
The World University Games wrapped up on Tuesday after 12 days of fierce competition, with host China topping the medal table with over 170 medals. Wang Mengjie has more.
A celebration of friendship, sportsmanship, and joy. The curtain of this year's World University Games fell in Chengdu. From swimming to gymnastics, from basketball to table tennis, China has bagged over 100 gold medals at the Games. But the event is about more than medals. Over 6,500 athletes from across the world have competed in 18 sports. It's all about the spirit of dedication and friendly competition. This idea is fully reflected at the closing ceremony of the Universiade.
We celebrate with the world and bid farewell to each other. This is the theme of the closing ceremony. We want to share China's youth spirit and make the world feel the stimulation.
But if college students merely participate in competitions without communication, they would lose the significance of the Universiade, with China doing a lot to facilitate people-to-people exchanges.
Many students meet, they become a team, they are building friendships, and that's what happens with the cities when all the people from the cities come together. When the whole world comes to join us, everyone will be together.
The stage director said he has learnt a lot from Chengdu, as Germany is preparing to be the host country of the Summer Universiade 2025.
During the past 2 weeks, it's been a happy sight to see the students taking to the streets of Chengdu and communicate with the local people. They can see a real China where the venues and organizations are convenient and the people are warm. It's hard to say goodbye, but the door of the best band for awesome Chengdu is always open. Wang Mengjie, CGTN, Chengdu.
Although the World University Games have wrapped up, the effects of the event are expected to endure far beyond its ending. The sports venues and facilities that were built for the Games are positive to leave a lasting impact on city's sports industry. Wang Tianyu has more.
Although the Chengdu World University Games is coming to an end, it has left a wonderful legacy for the host city, many high-quality venues. Sustainability has been a key word for the event. In other words, the Chengdu FISU Games has aimed to be as environmentally sustainable as possible. Among the 49 stadiums used, only 13 were newly built. The remaining 36 were renovated. But no matter if it's new or old, almost all of them are designed to save energy. The diving venue is one of the examples.
With our central control system, we can control the lights and air conditioners, as well as perform real-time online monitoring. This system can help us save 25% of energy consumption. After the end of the FISU Games, both this system and our venue will continue to be used.
Sustainability is not only about saving energy, but also about environmental optimization. It's cloudy right now. The forecaster says it will rain in just a couple of hours. The rainwater will be collected through these channels into a storage system, and then water these trees and grass around us here. The system can save 4,000 to 5,000 tons of water every year. Also, the Shuangliu Sports Center, which has served as the badminton venue of the Games, is one of the 36 renovated stadiums. Refurbishing is its way to reduce carbon emissions.
在照明方面呢，我们将钨丝灯改为 LED.
We have replaced halogen lamps with LED lights, resulting in an annual electricity saving of 150,000 kilowatt hours. In terms of water supply, we have installed sensor-activated faucets, leading to a daily water saving of 4 tons.
每天节约4吨水。
According to the organizer of the Chengdu Fisu Games, several venues are scheduled to host high-profile international competition, and some will be open freely or at very low prices to the public, for a minimum of 330 days a year. And the University Village, which has a special construction designed to cool the building down without ACs, will be open to the public in late September. Wang Tianyu, CGTN, Chengdu, Sichuan Province.
City Walk is trending on Chinese social media this summer. In Shanghai, it's a popular tourism product, attracting tourists and history enthusiasts. Cheng Tong has a story.
At 4 p.m. on Saturday, we gathered at the Jing'an Temple metro station. A total of 25 people, led by a guide. Instead of visiting landmarks, the guide led us to old buildings hidden in neighborhoods, explaining their architectural styles and sharing the history behind them. Many of the tourists are actually people who have lived in Shanghai for a long time and want to learn more about the city.
I can learn more about what happened on this street and why this place looks the way it does. If I were to walk around randomly by myself, I might forget what I visited.
The guide does a lot of work and tells many histories behind it. You wouldn't know it if you hadn't studied it.
In fact, this professional team has been engaged in the city walk business for 5 years. The ticket price for a trip per person is about 150 yuan or around $20 US. The demand for their city walk products surged this summer.
The promotion of the city walk concept on social media has made our products and services more popular than ever this summer. Each of our routes can accommodate up to 25 people, but tickets have been in high demand.
Not only in Shanghai, but the phenomenon of city walk has also spread across China. Data from the travel agency Trip.com shows that since June, searches for tourism products related to city walk have increased 5-fold compared to a year ago.
Currently, numerous city walk products have incorporated distinctive local experiences, and the range of scenes has become increasingly diverse. It has evolved from mere street-level walking to exploring the interiors of buildings, enabling travelers to truly measure and savor the city, deepening their impressions of it.
While this city walk business is becoming more sophisticated, it also requires tour guides to put more effort into each trip.
We are racing against city renovations, so every time we design a route, we need to first check whether the buildings have been removed or changed.
The whole trip takes about 3 hours and ends near Shanghai's Zhongshan Hospital. I would never know the history behind the places we visited if I hadn't taken this trip. Before I joined the trip, I wasn't sure what a city walk would entail, but as you can see, it has become a well-organized and a serious business. Chen Tong, CGTN, Shanghai.
This summer, the popularity of countryside summer camps is also booming nationwide, creating opportunities for rural communities. CGTN's Huang Yichang visited a village in Huanggang City in central China's Hubei province to explore their approach to seizing these opportunities and overcoming challenges.
Tangjiatong village is seeing an influx of visitors coming for summer camp this year. The 75-year-old Han Ping, a wise village elder, it is a great source of pride as the efforts of all villagers have paid off after spending years transforming the village from one scruffy land into a picturesque haven.
村庄建好了，有人就来，在服务水平跟上了，也有人来。
However, as the number of visitors continues to rise, a new problem emerges.
研学了1天就是300人左右，我们人的能力啊只有100人的能力，那么300人还200人就住不下了，这就是减少我们的收入。
Like some villages, the bustling activity is stirring Shifang's enthusiasm to seize the opportunity. Yet her home's guest room still remains unbooked.
我们安排了一些客人在他的住过，客人发现了这个卫生条件差，这床啊都没有把它搞好。
So today, Han Ping is going to give her some guidance.
卫生条件要进一步搞好，要有回头客。你看这边的衣服不能晒，这菜这些东西要码整洁，搞干净。
In addition to the courtyard's layout, the arrangement of rooms also counts.
表间儿，是吧？不要宽敞，也就是说床上不合格，是吧？要重新，可以去找一家已经在搞的。
To provide her with some inspiration, Han Ping takes her to a standard room.
这里头的不是标准要找到它这个标准。
Now, Han Ping understands her concern. She worries that no guest will come to stay, even if she has invested some money.
是要长楼子，这个今后的客人多得很。你像那些很子深圳的都来了，是不是？现在我们要走向市场，我们要把自己条件设施要跟上来。
Recognizing her concerns, the homestay's owner also steps in to offer motivation.
办得可以，为放这个二楼办的哇，一年也搞9万块钱了，可以啊。
你搞得几大点儿船的？
那农家乐15万块，一年也搞15万块钱。
你会不会有人住啊？你找的？
你自个儿自盖的房子又不顶个几多本呢？应该你搞好了，肯定有人住。有客子客住，没得客子人自个住，自个住得块付钱搞干净。你可以一个房里搞2个床，搞表间，再带卫生间。
As she was excitedly sharing her experience, she was interrupted by a guest calling for rooms, and Shifang is intrigued.
想啊，小伙子钱投的资，有人住。
他看到这个希望了，然的就是这个鼓励啊重重。现在呢，先走一步的人他有收入了，人每天就来的比较多，大家有兴趣了。
Han Ping told me that these scenes unfold every day in the village. The progress of rural areas requires a supportive community and courage to embrace every opportunity that comes their way. Huang Yinchang, CGTN, Cangzhacong Village in Huanggang, Hubei Province.
With that story, we wrap up this edition of Global Business. Thanks for watching. I'm Junjun Feng. CGTN continues with more news and views. Stay with us.